So
Yeah.
I don't mean to start off with a loaded question because it's probably gonna be close to a loaded question, but I'm poised to have to take organic chemistry over the summer. And I was wondering if you or Dr. Ward would be able to speak to perhaps maybe some of like the historical analytics, I guess from anecdotal stories, everyone's like, oh my God, everyone fails it over the summer compared to like regular courses. Is that like myth, or do you find that like classes are a bit more challenging?
Okay, so it's a good question. The question is, if you, to get back on track, say, or to cut your degree time, need to take courses in the summer. What's the success rate of students in the summer compared to the long semester? And I can speak to that in the sense that some students do exceptionally well in the summer, and other students do exceptionally not well.
Sure.
So it tends to be more of that dichotomy in the summer than in the long semester. And I think there's reasons for that. Number one, the summer classes are intense, but if you have the time to devote to it, it's actually helpful in terms of your retrieval of the content by the time you take exams. So if you're in a situation where, say, you have to take organic chemistry, and then I'll let Dr. Weber give you her advice as well, and you're not doing anything else in the summer, like you're not taking genetics at the same time, and you're not taking calculus, you're not taking any of these other classes at the same time, and you don't have to work 40 hours a week, then I think you do very well.
Okay.
And students do. But then there's the other cohort that just is trying really hard to get through the class, but they're working too much to try to make money. And well, I shouldn't say too much. They're working to make money for the next year, and they're trying to take other courses at the same time, and you can't do that and be successful unless you're a genius, I'm gonna say. I mean, I couldn't do that. We don't have very many students that would be successful in that scenario.
Sure.
Do you want to add something to that?
Real quick though, are they is there more classes throughout the week, or are they just longer days? Is that the same frequency?
Both.
So most summer classes in our department meet every day of the week for 2 hours. And you have to do it in that order if you're really going to learn the material.
Sure.
So.
I appreciate it, thank you.
Yes.
That includes weekends?
No weekends.
I know biology has some weekend courses, but for labs, but we haven't made it there yet. Biology has like 2,000 majors compared to our like 450.
So I don't have experience with organic, but I teach Gen Chem 2 every single summer. And I will say as a whole, my success rate is higher than in the normal semester. But I will say the students who have the time to and choose to devote it, who are coming to class the 5 days a week, who are doing the homework regularly and doing those things, they have a very high success rate. But like Dr. David said, there's a drop off. So either you do really, really good or you're really, really bad. You have to kind of have that mindset going into the summer to go every single day, or do your very best to go every single day and do the homework, do the extra stuff every single day. And also, you're seeing the material every single day, and so our students do better on the exams because it's more fresh on their minds. So as long as you kind of go into that with that mindset and that commitment, it is I would say, as a whole, it's pretty successful.
That's what I would have thought, but still, for whatever reason, I was starting to get discouraged. I'm like I know organic, for instance, is a gatekeeper for a lot of people. So like, I don't want to position myself in a way where it's going to be.
No, it's a very good question. It's a valid question, and I would encourage you not to get discouraged. That really the majors who are really focused on the course typically do well in the summer because you're not distracted by other things. So I don't teach organic chemistry very often in the long semesters. I do it in the summer, and I had the experience last year of doing it in a long semester because we were low on organic faculty. And I had the same scenario where my students in the summer did really well compared to my students in the fall. And I don't really know why that is. I don't have enough data to tell you why.
I appreciate that. Thank you. It's very enlightening. Thank you.
I can say that we have a lot of resources in the fall and spring semesters that, we try to offer in the summer, but there's not as much in the summer. So in the fall and spring semester, you can go to SI sessions, you can, some of you may have LAs or learning assistants. You can go to the Collaborative Learning Center for tutoring, you can go to Slack. In the summer, you can do some of that, but the options are circumscribed. So I think really one of the benefits you probably get in the summer is a smaller class size for the faculty member. And the cohort is very set on passing the course.
Sure.
So I think study groups form and people work well together. Yeah, those are good questions. Other questions about sequencing of courses? Yes.
I've been strongly encouraged to take organic chemistry 1 and 2 consecutively. I wanted to see how you felt about that, or maybe you could break it up and put a class in between it.
So you say you're biochemistry major, is that correct? Thank you. And it's Joe, is that right? Yeah, thank you. So I also advise to take those sequentially. The reason is because what you learn in organic chemistry 1 is really necessary for organic chemistry 2. So those two courses really do meld together. And if you wait too long, it's like you're reteaching yourself organic chemistry 1. So I would try to do them sequentially. It's not as important. I'm not going to say it's not important. It's not quite as important for chemistry majors to take them sequentially, because the successive courses that chemistry majors are taking focus more on the analytical side of chemistry and less on the organic side until chemistry majors take biochemistry. So I don't know if that answers your question. I would do what you could to take them sequentially.
Now I just have a secondary question. Is genetics offered in the spring?
And I'm sorry, I didn't hear it.
Is genetics offered in the spring?
In the spring, is there
Genetics?
genetics? Okay, yes. Genetics is offered fall, spring, and sometimes summer. So our biology department has sometimes offered it in the summer, but over the whole summer session, or at least 1.5 summer sessions for the genetics. Also, Austin Community College offers genetics with a lab that you have to take separately over the full summer term. So yes, you can take that in the summer. Calculus you can take in the summer. Yes.
Well, I have a question. Well, I'm like pre-med or like.
Okay.
And like I don't know if I mean I'm doing like perfectly fine in all my classes. It's pretty easy. But like I'm just saying like in general, like was it like a good idea that I picked like biochemistry like as my major? Like is that common for like pre-med?
Yeah, so it's a good question. The question is like, what kind of major best positions you for pre-med? I guess is kind of what you're asking. The honest answer is there's no one single major that is best for pre-med. Here's what my answer would be: major in what you think you're best at. Because if you want to go to medical school, you really do have to have a very high GPA. So if you are best at biology, I'm not trying to get rid of majors, I promise you. Because not everybody who is a pre-med student goes to medical school. But if that's your goal, 100%, you want to go to medical school, you should major in what you're going to get the highest grades in. And then add the courses that you need to best position you. What do you think?
My aunt has 3 MDs and she majored in French. So I fully support that. I mean, you need to have the prerequisites to get into med school,
Yeah.
but there is no limit to your degree. So.
I mean, what you need from the biochemistry degree to go to medical school is essentially biochemistry. And we have a course called metabolism, which is like essentially second semester biochemistry. So what the biochemistry degree does though is if you wanted to be a medical professional involved in research, then it would become more important for you to learn the different types of research that's done and to practice some of the different types of research. But yeah, you can major in whatever you want to go to medical school, as long as you have the prereqs, and they really do look at your GPA. So, you know, my suggestion, again, I don't wanna scare people off, but chemistry is hard. We all know that, right? And biochemistry, they're hard classes. And so our majors, we have a lot of majors that are, you know, somewhere between like 3.5 and 4 GPA, but that's kind of the top performers. We've got a whole lot more majors that are around a 3.0. And that's not really, that's not gonna get you in medical school. Unless there's some type of mitigating factors, like you know, did a summer internship with somebody who's an alumni at the particular medical school, or, okay.
Also, another question, sorry, is like biochemistry, I know this, I should probably know this by now, but does biochemistry like relate to like what's gonna be like, you know, within? You know what I
That's a
mean?
good question. The question is, does biochemistry relate to what you're gonna learn in med school? That's something I can answer because I teach the sort of second semester biochemistry course, metabolism, and I've had students that go to medical school that tell me, we basically went through your whole class in the first 2 weeks of our class in medical school. So, you know, they'll say, I'm in this class with students who are struggling because they didn't have this content, but I had it and we basically went through it into like 2 weeks. So yes, it's related. The question is, how do you best position yourself to get there? And then make sure you have the background you need, I guess, would be the way to frame. You know, you can make it, and I've seen it happen, you can make it through a chemistry and biochemistry degree with an intact GPA, but it's hard and you gotta really work for that, I would say. So a minor can help you, yes.
Oh, I was gonna say, that's just specifically for med school. Like, we're not trying to push you away from the majors. It is perfectly acceptable to have between like a 2.5 and a 3.5 with this major in minor, and be very, very, very successful. So, sorry.
No, that's right, yes, go ahead.
What I was gonna ask too is, because when I was applying here and trying to decide my major, you know, I was on the fence between chemistry and biochemistry, because they are so incredibly similar, with some, you know, minor variations, but I guess as far kind of to follow up with the career stuff, and again, I feel like I should know this at this point as well, but going into the professional worlds, how would you say like the application of like what jobs are available to you for like biochemists versus straight chemists? Are they that dramatically different, or do you like, if I have like no ambitions of going to medical school or medical school, I just want to be a biochemist or any other students?
So, good question, like what career options are available?
Or like how they differ, you know?
So besides professional school, which would encompass medical, dental, you know, optometry, pharmacy, other professional schools, there's jobs in industry, and let me address that first. The jobs available in industry for people with a biochemistry background and a chemistry background don't necessarily look different, but sometimes they do. And where they start to look different is whether you're involved in industry that's related to life sciences, or whether you're involved in industry related to materials development, or new batteries, or new types of
So if I'm doing a minor
processes.
in horticulture, it probably makes more sense to be biochemistry.
Probably.
That's what I want to do.
Yes, so horticulture definitely overlaps with biochemistry quite a bit, I would say.
Thank you.
Yeah, you wanna
I love
add
your
in?
questions.
Oh, good.
So
I like- I
I
like
worked in
answers.
industry before I got my PhD, and I always, I lecture about this all the time. With your bachelor's degree, when I was in y'all's shoes, I was always asked the question, what are you gonna do with your chemistry degree? What are you gonna do? I was actually, my degree's in biochemistry. I got sick of it because once I graduated and started looking for jobs, I'm gonna tell you now, what can't you do with your degree? With your bachelor's degree in whether biochemistry or chemistry can do almost anything. A lot of labs need someone with y'all's background, and there's a lot of different directions. And I have like, if you want to go into cosmetics, cosmetics need chemists. If you want to go into paints, they need a chemist. If you want to go into pharmaceuticals, they need a chemist. Everyone needs a chemist, and I'm also overlaying with biochemists too, because I was a biochemistry bachelor's degree. Everyone needs a chemist. Every type of industry, every type. There's just so much you can do with it. And you can specify as you go. So I worked at Dow, I worked in a pharmaceutical lab where I was an analytical chemist analyzing pharmaceuticals. So I was able to specialize in something I enjoyed. If you want to go into green chemistry, there's
And that was
environmental
with your bachelor's
chemistry.
degree? at
That's
the
just my
time?
bachelor's degree, and you're not really aware of this, until you get out, but I'm telling you now, there's a lot of different things you can go into, and with your bachelor's degree, they overlap. So if you like forensics, you can go into forensics. As you get past your bachelor's degree and move into master's PhD territory, that's when you start being more specific. But just so you know, you're really passionate about something, there are so many jobs out there. The problem is location is gonna be the big thing. So if you wanna be in Austin, you probably do more tech, Samsung, Tesla, things like that. If you like more gas and energy, Houston, New Orleans, a lot around the Gulf Coast. Like cosmetics, California, a lot of different options out there for you. But I love that question because I seriously get sick. I got so sick of people asking, what am I gonna do with my degree when I could probably do
Same,
more than their degree.
That's why I'm trying to think of a better answer.
There's so many things. you
Especially
can
with
do.
Thanksgiving coming up, I have to answer it 20 times.
Everyone, I'm seriously, what can you do with your degree?
That's a good way to say it. Why can't I be with it? Yeah.
Everyone needs a chemist or biochemist.
In your opinion, is the job growth gonna be exponential when we possibly get our bachelor's degree when we graduate? Like, will there be a lot of jobs available?
We're in like a heavily saturated market.
It's gonna be saturated, but it's like I said, it's location dependent. Do you need to?
No, I don't have anything additional to add. I guess I would say it's not exponential. I don't predict,
Well,
but on my own, that it's gonna be exponential.
well, not kind of a high growth rate, pretty much, what I'm trying to say.
But you're not gonna be able to, you'll be able to find a job.
Yeah.
Whereas in some majors, you wouldn't be able to necessarily find a job in your major.
I'll be honest, it is very location dependent. So for instance, I grew up in New Orleans. I was able to get a job very, very fast because New Orleans has a lot of opportunities for chemistry and biochemistry, just because there's so many plants, chemical plants for energy and gas. If you want to be in a very, very specific location, it might take you more time to get a job, but it doesn't mean jobs aren't out there. It probably just means it's a more competitive market. If you're willing to move anywhere for a specific job, it's probably going to be a lot quicker, and a lot easier for you to get a job. But I will say it does take a little bit of time to get a job in chemistry because there's a lot of background checks. There's a lot of making sure you're healthy and things like that. So don't just, if you graduate in May, don't just start applying in May. You want to start a little early. Did that answer your question?
Yeah, that's a
good question.
But the index too, they track that, you can see the growth rate index for degree and that job field, it's like a trackable number, that you can see that percentage wise and projected jobs for the next 10 years.
Speaking on the background checks you're talking about, like for biochemistry, what does the job market look like for people with clearances?
I mean, it's just government definitely will take a long time. You definitely need to have the background check. Not every company needs to have an extensive background check, but I work pharmaceuticals, and if they wanted to make sure that, I'm analyzing drugs going into people's bodies, that one that I didn't have maybe a criminal history with drugs. So they were kind of looking for that aspect. So that was using my biochemistry degree, but not every company is like that. Like, for instance, if you wanted to work, and Sherwin-Williams actually has a research and development plant, I think up in Indiana, not necessarily going to need an extensive background check. It just depends on what company you're working for, what are you going to do. But government, there's a lot of clearance that's needed, so that one would definitely be in the background.
Yeah, I guess more so what I'm asking is like, what does the job market look like for people who already currently have clearances?
Do better, next, yeah, like that.
What's, yeah, like, what would that job market, like, who would you be working for in that sense? Like, what companies are looking for a person who has biochem bachelor's and have also have clearance?
Usually probably pharmaceutical companies or government. I mean, there are a lot of government jobs that will hire chemistry,
I understand on USA Jobs,
especially
just tons of
analytical.
research positions.
Probably not so much academics, I think.
Yeah.
You,
I have a dumb question.
Yeah.
Do clearances talk to each other? Because
yeah, I
I
don't know. the
because
answer
that's
to
my
that.
thing, is
That's
like, you
a
might
dumb
have a
question.
background clearance here, but
Yeah,
I
so
don't know
here's
if they
just-
talk to each other here.
So
Like, I had a TWIC card for a while, when I worked at Dow, because that's for, working in, like, around waterways, because I work by the Mississippi River. I had a background clearance for that, but I don't know if I can go to a different company with my TWIC card and be like, it might work. But it just depends on the communication between the companies.
I meant more, like DoD clearance, and like what, so if you have DoD clearance, what jobs, say in like maybe the government or like companies that are contracted with the government, that are working hand in hand and require DoD clearance, what exactly, as a biochem major, is that job gonna look like? What would you be doing?
The DoD, you do a lot of
Yeah.
different things, actually, but if you want to answer, or,
Or, I don't know if I have.
I mean, I know you can definitely do, materials work. So we have a couple of faculty in our department who, were basically after they got their PhD and after they, did their postdocs, worked for the Navy for many years in developing materials. And now they do similar research, right, but, just here in the academic, environment. So I think there's a lot of work on materials. The DoD also funds a lot of environmental work for environmental cleanup or for, investigating new and better ways to clean up what has happened in the past.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of opportunity there. I think that's a really good question, that whenever you do your job application, you should always have that, because I know, if you ever go for a job interview, one of your questions should be like, what is my expectations, what is a day in the life of what you want me to do? Because every different company will do I can tell you what I did, but it's not gonna be the same as company A, B, and C. It's really specific to the company, and what their expectations are. So that is a wonderful question for job interviews. I can only give you like maybe possible things, but since I didn't work there, I wouldn't know.
I guess I'm trying to find out, because I'm pre-den, my question is kind of similar to his. We're talking between maybe doing biochem or engineering, because the GPA problem, at least if I graduated with a 3.0, I'm still an engineer. Whereas with biochem, I don't know exactly what I would be doing. I know what I have to offer to like make myself stand out a little bit.
Yeah.
But I don't know what exactly the career field I'd be stepping into rather than pursuing dental school. I kind of just want to like find out.
Like a contingency plan, sort of.
Yeah, so
Yeah,
I would
always
step
have
out, I'm like,
access.
hey, I have biochem degree, like, what am I, so, and then I just don't know what I'm looking for, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, I guess I could say in terms of engineering, what I said about chemistry and biochemistry being quote unquote hard, engineering is just as, if not more, difficult, I think, for most students, because it is very math oriented. So students that are taking engineering aren't going to take a whole lot of chemistry, although Dr. Weber teaches the chemistry for engineers here in our department and is developing the lab that goes along with that. There's a little different focus, and then you don't take chemistry after that, but you take a lot of math and physics related courses.
We don't offer chemical engineering here. If you do want to overlap them, there is a chemical engineering degree somewhere. I have a friend who has a chemical engineering degree that has a lot of these chemistry classes that overlap. I don't know if you can make your own chemical engineering degree here at Texas State, but
I think, yeah.
no, but I do know that there are plenty of chemical engineer careers. However, if you don't have that engineering background or those engineering classes, it's unlikely for you to get hired as an engineer.
The main reason being that I chose biochem was trying to pursue pre-den, but with biochem being described as very like hard path. Maintaining like a 3.6 or above is not easy, I guess. So that's why I was kind of like trying to find my way with it. And if I do end up pursuing biochem, maybe I say I graduate, but I don't have a high enough GPA to end up pursuing dental school. I'm just kind of like trying to find out what my role would be as a biochemist.
So with your bachelor's, or would you pursue others?
I mean, if I had to, I could.
I
It just
almost
kind of
think-
depends on what would be best.
I almost think, I'm just gonna go out on a limb here a little bit, but I almost think for dental school, sometimes having the chemistry background is pretty good. Because, especially dentistry involves a lot of new materials and understanding how those are used. And, we have some polymer, chemists that do research in our department that is, you know, at least overlapping with some types of things that occur in a dental school, whereas you don't necessarily get that same background with the biochemistry degree. So the materials background is probably better. But I don't know. This is where it's kind of hard to decide, and you need to pick what you like, so that you always have a plan B to fall back on. You might not know what you like until you've taken a couple of classes. Yeah,
Like I see for biochemistry, there's like the track for American Chemical Society certificate. Can you talk about that? I'm not really sure.
about the ACS certified degrees.
Yeah.
Okay, so American Chemical Society is the largest chemical society in the world, and they certify departments that have the right type of training, the right number of faculty, the right types of instruments to let the students learn on. So they certify departments, and then if the student completes the degree program that has been certified, the student gets certified by the ACS. So the difference for biochemistry, if you want an ACS certified degree, is to add in inorganic chemistry, which is gonna give you some background later. And then also to make sure that you do at least one semester of undergraduate research. So there's 2 additional courses on your degree plan. And if you do those, you automatically get the American Chemical Society certification. So when you're job searching, you can say, my degree was ACS certified. That tells the company that you are trained to the level of a professional chemist / biochemist, is really what it does. So it's helpful if you're job searching, for sure. It's less helpful if your goal is to go to professional school.
In
But
the entry level world, it's more helpful, for sure.
Just in your combined experience, if you had to assign percentiles, what 3.6 GPA across all majors graduating, where you put that at approximately?
how would
How many of the graduates?
Yeah, say like how many
have a-
graduates, like if you got a 3.6, where you say that falls in the spectrum of graduating students for these majors?
It's very,
I don't know. I've been an advisor for a long time, and I'm gonna just go out on a limb, and I don't know if this is a correct answer, but I'm gonna say probably a quarter of the students that graduate are 3.5 or so, and higher, but it's probably the top quarter. That's what I would say.
I'm also a pre-med, and are there any research opportunities here on campus or like in the area of San Marcos that deals with medical associated research? Because I want to go to medical school. I feel like that would help my chances.
Yes. So we have a faculty member in our department who teaches general chemistry, Dr. Betancourt, who does have a background as a chemical engineer. She's a biomedical engineer, I should say, not chemical engineering. And her research is focused on drug delivery mechanisms and materials that would help to deliver anti-tumor agents to particular sites in the body. So that certainly has a medical focus. And then there are other faculty that are interested in learning about, say, genetics behind disease or treating different types of cancers. So we have ongoing efforts for drug development for neuroblastoma. That's research that is in the department. We have faculty who are looking to develop drugs for other diseases, not just cancer. So lots of opportunities.
Where would I be able to go to find out how to participate? What's the word?
So undergraduate research is something that is set up between the individual faculty member and the student. So it's an individual opportunity, and it mainly starts with you introducing yourself to the faculty member, telling them who you are, what you're interested in, that you'd like to know more about undergraduate research in their lab. And sometimes the faculty will ask you to essentially give them a resume, and sometimes they won't. So faculty are different. They all have some different requirements for what they're looking for. But I can say, and I'm pretty certain that this is correct, that at Texas State, the faculty here do involve undergraduates in their research. So they're not just involving graduate students. And you definitely have an opportunity to do actual work in somebody's lab. If you haven't met them as a professor in any of your classes, then it sometimes might be helpful to ask us to help you craft an email to send to them. So I've done that before for students to help them put themselves in the best light when they're talking to an individual professor.
Can I get that first name you mentioned then?
For Dr. Betancourt,
The biomedical one, yes.
yes, her name is Dr. Betancourt. Her first name is Tanya, but you can see a list of all the faculty on the website for our department, and there'll be a short description of what kind of research they do, what they're interested in.
And then the email will be there. I would also look at the biochem faculty and the biology faculty.
Yes.
You want to be picky with research because this is something that you're going to be doing and hopefully enjoying. So you don't just want to pick anyone, read about it and see if anything interests you. And then I would probably reach out and maybe arrange go meet with it and talk to them about your interests and gauge and see if this is something you might be interested in.
One other opportunity that I didn't mention, there's probably other questions, so I'll do this quickly, but our department does hire students to teach labs and to work in the stock room, as long as you've already taken the laboratory and gotten at least a B or higher in the laboratory. So besides making money, and it's not an excellent money-making venture, but besides that, what it does do is it gives you experience with, it gives you more experience in the content, but it also helps you to learn and meet faculty in the department. And I think that's one of the biggest benefits of working in the department or getting involved, say, in the stock room or as an instructional assistant, is that out of all of the majors, the ones that are also working to instruct their peers are the ones that we as faculty usually know better, which means that when it comes time for recommendation letters, we usually know more about what you're doing, to help inform the letters that you need when you apply for jobs or go to medical school or, pharmacy school or.
Yeah. I will say, I don't know if you've experienced this, but I feel like Texas State is one of the only schools I've ever been to that gives their undergraduate students a lot of, what's the word? A lot of opportunity in that sense, because other schools, they'll have grad students run labs or they'll have other professors run labs. But this is the only school where they put a lot of leadership under their undergraduate students, which is a wonderful experience to be able to say on your resume that I didn't just help a professor run a lab as a teaching assistant, I taught a lab. So that's different, where when I was in grad school, I taught labs. I've never, as an undergraduate student, had the opportunity to be in charge of my own lab. Like, you have a coordinator above you, but you're still the one that's gonna be instructing students, and you're the one in charge. It's a good opportunity. It really helps you on your leadership skills, communication skills, a lot of valuable things that you will take into your next role. And so if you can kind of sell that to any job interview or grad school interviews and just say that, like, you had this amazing leadership opportunity, and same thing with our stockroom workers. Like, I've never been to a school that had so much leadership opportunities for their undergraduate students. And so if you're interested in getting some of that opportunity, we would love to have you, I teach 3 labs here. I teach quantitative analysis lab, I teach general chemistry 2 lab, and I teach engineering chemistry lab, which is just an overlap of Gen Chem 1 and 2. So if you see that word, don't think you're doing something crazy. But if you're interested in teaching with us, we'd love to have you.
For IAs, do y'all hire like sophomores or only juniors and seniors? Because I was asking around in the biology department for like a bio lab that I'm in, if I could like teach it next semester, and they're like, no, only juniors and seniors.
You can teach next semester. If you've taken Gen Chem 1 and made an A or a B, you can start teaching Gen Chem 1 with us next semester. And you can probably the applications are up right now.
Yeah, they are. So if you go to the website, the chemistry website, there should be a link where you could fill out an application if you're interested.
You have to, like, I'm in Gen Chem 2 right now, and I took Gen Chem 1 in high school, so I don't know if that would like if I think I'm gonna do good in Gen Chem 2, can I apply for that next semester?
Yes. We strongly recommend it.
Yeah.
We would love, like I said, love to have you class.
And I think part of it is because Texas State started primarily, I don't know if this is why, but primarily as a teaching college when it was first founded. But our department does definitely involve undergraduates, so we're very happy that you all came. And I'm happy to answer more questions. Don't forget to take cookies too. But yeah, there've been a lot of good questions. I don't know if anybody has.
I mean, I have individual questions. I was gonna wait till like the group officially breaks up. I just
Yeah.
have it informal.
Okay.
I don't just word on it. I actually forgot what to ask. I'm so sorry. It's a long day. Wednesdays are long days.
So I currently have a Spanish minor that I haven't even remotely started working on, which I was kind of staging that to sell for the pre-dent, because it looks, one, I want to learn, but 2, it looks more like a humanity thing, bringing it in and being able to like connect with patients. But would you recommend, for, not to speak it into existence, but say that doesn't work out and I do end up going to the biochem field, because I don't really see myself not doing it, would it be better to follow a bio minor or a chem minor? What would help more for like looking for a straight biochem job?
So you can't minor in a program in the same department that your major is. So for instance, if you're a biochemistry major, you can't be a chem minor, or vice versa. But certainly you can add a bio minor. The biochemistry majors are taking so much biology that they only need 3 additional classes to get the bio minor. So I typically, in a situation like you said, you have a Spanish minor, I typically would say, why don't you double minor? Why don't you have your minor in Spanish and the minor in bio? Because you just need 3 classes to get that.
You can always change it too. So if
You
you
change
change that
it.
graduation date and you don't want to, spend the summer doing more classes, you can always take one minor off.
That's true. You only have to have 1 minor to graduate from Texas State. You have to have a major and a minor. There's only a few programs that don't require a minor because they require so many hours for their own programs. So mechanical engineering would be one of those, and maybe a couple of the engineering programs. But other than that, you have to have a minor, and everybody has to have what we call advanced hours, 36 advanced hours. Those are 3,000 level, 4,000 level courses. That's just a Texas State requirement. Yes.
Earlier you said something about researching and you're only get paid or not get paid but count as volunteer hours. So if I do want that note, let's say I did the same amount of volunteer hours as research hours.
So whether or not you get paid depends on whether the faculty member you're working with has.
Well,
grant money.
how about that?
Yeah, so if they're paying you, then no, you can't count that as volunteer.
But as long as you're not getting paid, you can say you volunteered to do something. And research.
If you officially register for the course, you cannot say you're volunteering. But so there's an undergraduate research course that you can take to get credit for your research. So if you get paid for the research, or if you get credit towards your degree for the research, you can't count it as volunteer, but otherwise you can count it as volunteer.
Are there any volunteer opportunities to some degree like that on campus, but you don't get credit?
Yeah, you can volunteer.
Yeah, we have labs, would love to have an undergraduate student, it just depends on the.
You know, work on information about
I would just start by, looking and finding an advisor, looking at the research you're interested in and seeing your options there.
that?
And then you'll go into like, do you want to volunteer, do you want to get paid, or do you, not everyone can pay, so it's like you could get paid, or you could go coursework.
Getting paid is not on my mind.
Yeah.
I mean, there are plenty of opportunities to get paid, to do research, and, you want to mention already? Other internships?
Good, you can go ahead.
Okay. Over the summers, there are internship opportunities where you could get paid, to do research, so if you're interested, maybe when you're done with your coursework and you want to have a summer, you could, work for that. There are other companies that will have interns where you can get paid to do that, so, I don't have all the information on the companies that'll do interns. I know that I worked at Dow and they would have their engineers come intern, they didn't have those opportunities for chemists. I think companies are now starting to have that. But an RU is a research experience for undergrads, specifically over the summer, and you'll start applying, I think around March, and then you just do a 10-week program and you get paid for that. And you can go anywhere in the country and do that, any college can do that. It doesn't have to be Texas State. And I can go into that a lot more detail, but I just want to let you know, there are paid opportunities in research. Any more questions?
I really hope this thing's still recording.
It is.
Not really an advising question or anything, or like a major question, but for the summer courses, like I know all the STEM courses I'm in right now, it's like 4 tests and then like a final. And I know the summer courses are like 4 or 5 weeks, so is it still gonna be like that, like a test like every week or so, or are they gonna?
It usually is. I shouldn't speak for you, but it's usually a test a week. So you can basically say like a week is worth about 3 weeks of material in a long semester.
So I'll teach for an hour and 50 minutes per day. And then I try to make the exams either on a Wednesday or on a Friday, and I try to do it once a week. And it's not because I'm trying to be cruel and put too much workload on you, but if you were to do it like after 2 weeks, that's half the entire course. And I know back in the day they used to do that, but it's just, it would just put some more pressure on that one exam. And what happens if you got sick that day, or you got in a car accident or things like that, that would cause that one exam to be bad and that would make you suffer. So that's why I prefer to do 1 exam a week. Just so it takes that percentage of each exam down and takes the pressure off your shoulders. So that's my preference. I know not everyone does that.
Yeah, I think it's pretty common.
In this department, yes.
It's pretty common in this,
Yeah, I try to do it at least once a week.
Okay, yeah, I also have to take over this, so.
Alright.
Yeah.
I'm gonna have to take Gen Chem over the summer. How long is the summer class typically?
It's split up into like 2 almost miniature semesters right during the summer, first half, the second half.
Yeah, so the first one will start like that June after Memorial Day, or just that June 1st. And then it'll end probably around July 4th. The second one will pick up right after that, and then maybe around August 6th. So it's about 5 weeks, maybe 4.5, 5 weeks each time.
You said we do get weekends off, right?
I mean, if you want to study over the weekends, but there's no
We
coursework.
don't have classes
Oh,
in
okay,
chemistry.
that's what I meant.
Yeah, things might be due over the weekend. but-
Because some of your biology, depending if you're taking like functional biology or organizational, some of the labs are on Saturday. But they do that because they have so many students, they can't they can't get everybody through without doing that, but we're not there yet. All right, well, I guess, I'm happy to answer additional questions. Dr. Weber is happy to answer questions. We really appreciate you coming, and it's good to see you face to face, and we wanted you to be able to see us as well. We are both on the Chem Advising. I'm gonna go back to that Chem Advising email address. If you email chemadvising@techstate.edu, Dr. Weber and I monitor that email, and we're happy to answer additional questions that you have.
And if you do have access to the Chem Advising Canvas site, I'm going to probably make a module based on everything we discussed today with the recordings of these videos, with the actual PowerPoint, and then I'm gonna put those resources in there. So if you wanted to start there and then come email us, but we discussed a lot of really interesting topics, so I'll try to put as much information in there as possible. And I put a discussion board in there, so if you have additional questions, please ask them on the discussion board, because then we can go back and have everyone be able to see the questions and be answered, not just one student.
Say you're not particularly happy with the grade you got, and the course you got, and it's been a while. Are you able to retake a course over the summer and replace that grade you got originally? So let's say I made a C in a functional but did great, and another biology class, I want to retake that one class like I took freshman year, you would retake over the summer, replace that grade? Does that question make sense?
The grade replacement works if you took the class at Texas State and you take it again at Texas State, it will replace the second time. Right,
Okay,
so if
that's
you
fine.
take it the second time, it will replace, but if you took a course at, say, ACC or somewhere else, and you take it a second time at Texas State, it will average.
Also, isn't there a limit, like if you've taken it 3 or 4 times,
Yes.
it no longer will replace
It will no longer replace, it'll start averaging. So the answer is yes, you can replace the grade at Texas State by taking the same course an additional time, but then if you take it the third time, it's gonna start averaging instead of replacing.
Okay, hypothetically speaking, if you do worse the second time, will it just keep the first one?
No. Hospital, it doesn't. And so that's just something you gotta think about, it replaces. It's a grade replacement the second time you take it. The third or subsequent times, it starts averaging, the grade, so. And people get into medical school with Cs. You just can't have all Cs, right? You can have one C or a couple Cs, but you can't have all Cs. You gotta have mostly As and Bs.
Yeah, and we definitely talked a lot about high GPAs, no majority of y'all are probably pre-med, but I just wanna emphasize, you do not have to be highest GPA to be successful with a career or go to graduate school or other options. That's specifically for medical school, you probably need to have the most competitive GPAs, but you can be incredibly successful with around a 3.0 GPA. I have friends, we've all seen it. I don't wanna pressure you to be like, if you don't have a 3.5 or higher, you should get out of the biochem or chem major. That's not what we're saying. That's specifically for medical school. You can be very, very successful with a GPA in the 2.5 to 3.5 range, very successful. Of course, higher is better, but like I said, we're not trying to scare you away from the major. You do not need to have a high.
Once you graduate and you find a job, it doesn't matter what your GPA was.
Don't put it on your resume at all.
Yeah.
Like,
Nobody would even know.
no one cares. You
Unless
have a
you're-
degree.
Unless you're going to graduate school, then.
You'll
Well,
need
graduate
that
school
to get in.
but you don't have to have like the 4.0 to get it.
No, I think I'll be honest, I didn't do as well in undergrad, I had a 3.2. I got a PhD anyway, and my PhD I got a 4 because I got my stuff together. But I had a 3.2 GPA and I got into, I think, 3 different PhD programs. Yeah, that's just my undergrad experience. And I had a job too, right after graduate school, I had a really, really good job with that 3.2 GPA.
All right, well, I know some of you came in after, we started, but thank you for coming, and we're happy to answer questions as we go through the semester. Good luck with everything. I know it's starting to be like round of tests coming up, so. Don't forget to take care of yourselves also.
Don't forget to take a cookie.